This represents your brain. And if each grain is $1,000, this is how much money it generates you as an average American. And this is a millionaire's brain. And this is a billionaire's brain. And this is how much their brain generates. Same biology, completely different programming. You've been trained to think one way about money. They were trained to think another. This isn't about IQ, it's not about hustle, it's not even about luck. It's about the software running in your head. You wake up early, you go to work, you follow the rules, you do everything right. And still, your bank account barely gets above zero, your dreams feel like a joke, and that little voice whispers, you'll never make it. Yet while you slept last night, someone else made your 5-year salary without lifting a finger. Why is this? You've been lied to. Not by evil people, not by some grand conspiracy, but something far more insidious. A script so old, so deep, you don't even know it's running. But what if I told you that everything you believe about money, everything you were taught about wealth, was designed to keep you broke? What if the very thoughts in your head about being good with money are the chains keeping you poor? What if there is a way of seeing the invisible programming that's been sabotaging you since childhood? By the end of this, you'll see the matrix. You'll understand why you think what you think. And more importantly, you'll finally have the tools to debug, delete, and download a new way of thinking, one that builds wealth instead of blocks it. The script that's been running your life. From the moment you could speak, they started programming you. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. Money is the root of all evil. Sound familiar? We all know these phrases, but can you even remember who or when you heard them? I can't, but I think it's ingrained within us. These aren't just sayings, they're software installed in your mind before you could defend yourself. And like any old software, it runs in the background, silently controlling everything until you replace it with something better. You didn't choose those beliefs, but they impact the choices of your life. Every time you hesitate to charge what you're worth, that's the program. Every time you feel guilty about wanting more, that's the program. Every time you think wealthy people are somehow bad, that's the program. So where did this come from? Let me take you back, way back, to the 1600s. Here's a 60-second history lesson. The Puritans taught that wealth was a sign of God's favor. But, and here's the trap, you had to suffer for it, work yourself to death for it, never enjoy it. That would be sinful. As the influential Puritan minister, Richard Baxter, in his widely read work, A Christian Directory, wrote, "Be suspicious of ease. God tries us more with riches than with poverty." Sounds a lot like he's saying, rich people are greedy, right? Fast forward. Horatio Alger, an influential 19th century author, writes stories about the boys who get rich through pure moral character, through patience, through being good. He famously said, "The love of money is the root of all evil." Starting to get the picture? While his books were fiction, they felt true, and he sold over 25 million copies, mostly to working class families dreaming of something better. But these were the first layers of the script: morality, patience, obedience. The real rollout, the scaled distribution of this mindset, well, it came a bit later. Not by a teacher, not by a politician, but by a billionaire, John D. Rockefeller. Rockefeller didn't just build an oil empire, he built a mindset factory, and it's still impacting you today. Through his General Education Board, he reshaped the US school system. He didn't want innovation, he wanted order. He once said, and this is real, "I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers." This wasn't just an opinion, it became national infrastructure. From homework to hall passes, the whole system was built to create perfect employees, not free minds. So by the time you were old enough to question it, you didn't. But Rockefeller only built the system. He laid the tracks. Someone else ran the trains. During the war, the US needed unity, sacrifice, and mass compliance. That's where Elmer Davis comes in. President Roosevelt appointed him to lead the Office of War Information.
8:55 Eastern Time, and Columbia and its affiliated stations bring you Elmer Davis and the news.
With a $25 million budget and 30,000 staff, Davis didn't just report on the news, he shaped belief. While he helped to counter enemy propaganda and maintain morale on the home front, he also made sure every American believed in the safe path. The path: college, job, mortgage, retirement. Generation after generation, the message got clearer. Work hard, don't ask questions, be grateful for what you get. And here you are, still following that script. still playing their game, while they play a completely different one. It's the reason I know you'll relate to at least one of these. Loss aversion. You fear losing $100 more than you want to make $100. In fact, this famous study in the 1970s actually shows losses feel about twice as painful as gains feel good. So it's no surprise you sit on cash while inflation eats it alive. Your brain is prioritizing safety, not strategy. But what got you here will not get you financially free. Or how about cognitive ease? You trust what feels familiar. You'll panic about good debt, but drop $1,200 on a phone without thinking? Relate? Well, you're not alone. It's why 60% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency bill without borrowing or going into debt. Yet the average iPhone user in America upgrades every 2 to 3 years, often paying $1,000 plus upfront or through a monthly plan. Or how about the fact that scarcity actually shrinks your IQ? When you're stressed about money, your decision-making, it gets worse. So much so that research shows financial stress can drop your IQ points by 13 points. It's like financial fight or flight. You're not bad with money, you're making decisions with the nervous system on fire. And every failure, every disappointment, every time you tried and didn't make it, well, your brain learns to stop trying, to stop believing, to stop hoping. Not because you're weak, because hope hurts when it dies. The well think differently. Here's how. So what makes someone like Elon Musk different from you? Is it his IQ, his work ethic, his lucky breaks? No, it's simpler than that and more profound. He simply thinks different about money, about time, about problems. Let me show you the difference. You see money as something you earn. They see money as something you build. You think, how can I make more per hour? Billionaires think, how can I make money while I sleep? You see your time as something to sell. The rich see their time as something to multiply. That's not greed, that's not luck, that's just different software. And here's the thing about software. It can be learned, installed, upgraded. So what does their software actually look like? First thing, they do not chase money. They chase leverage. What's leverage? It's doing something once that pays you continuously. They film one video and it pays them for years. They build one online product and strangers buy it while they sleep. Your current job, it's trading time for money. 1 hour equals 1 payment. Stop working, well, you stop earning. Their approach, 1 effort equals infinite or asymmetric returns. Jeff Bezos wasn't chasing money when he started Amazon. He was chasing leverage. He didn't open a bookstore and sit behind the register. He built an online platform that sold books while he slept. The initial website was crude. The system was simple, but it scaled. That's not working harder, that's working differently. That's the exact reason I created Main Street Accelerator. It's where I teach you the exact step-by-step playbook to buy a small business that cash flows starting on day one. I think there's never been a better time to buy a business. One that you buy and can pay you forever. The ultimate leverage. The second thing, they understand that broke thinking keeps you broke. You think, I can't afford it. They think, how can I afford it? You see, that's too expensive. They see, what's the return on investment? You worry, what if I lose money? They ask, what if I don't try? Same situation, different questions, different outcomes. And here's what's wild. Most of them started exactly where you are. Broke, confused, following the same script you're following until they realized the script was the problem. So they wrote a new one. It didn't happen overnight. It started with outliers. People who got rich, not by working more, but by thinking differently. Entrepreneurs, investors, technologists, people who questioned everything they've been taught about time, money, and value. They looked around and asked, what if school was wrong? What if saving isn't actually that safe? What if working harder isn't the only answer? And instead of playing by the old rules, they created their own. The new script wasn't about security. It was about leverage and ownership. Building once, getting paid continuously. And once they cracked it, they never went back. As Naval Ravikant said, to get rich, you need leverage. Leverage comes from labor, capital, or products. Now what? Here's your new operating system. You can't unsee what you've just seen. The programming, the lies, the different game they're playing. So now the question becomes, what are you gonna do about it? You have two choices. Choice one, you go back to sleep. Pretend this conversation never happened. Keep following the old script. Choice two, wake up, install the new software. If you choose option two, and I hope you do, here's where you start. Wealthy people's brains literally process risk and opportunity differently. Poor brain asks, what if I lose money? Rich brain asks, what if I don't invest? Framework number one, the $4 test. Let me show you exactly what I mean. This is the $4 test, and it reveals just about everything. When you see a $4 coffee, your poor brain calculates that's $1,460 per year. Your rich brain calculates that's $146,000 in 30 years if invested. But here's the thing, I'm not saying skip the coffee. I'm saying think like an owner. Stop obsessing on the $4, focus on creating systems that generate the 400. Framework number 2, the 3-2-1 rule. This is the system that finally could break you out of employee thinking. The 3-2-1 rule is 3 problems you can solve for others, 2 ways to monetize each problem, 1 system to automate the delivery. Problem: people hate meal planning. Solution 1, meal prep service, $200 a week. Solution 2, digital meal plans, $20 a month. When Bezos started Amazon, he wasn't thinking about his $40,000 salary. He was building a system that could generate revenue while he slept. But here's where most people get stuck, and it's costing them millions. Framework 3, the 72-hour rule. I call this the 72-hour rule, and it's why most people stay broke. Poor brain, I need to research this for 6 months. Rich brain, I need to test this in 72 hours. Too many people think perfect is the enemy of good. The rich know perfect is the enemy of rich. The integration. Here's how all this connects. The $4 test changes your spending. The 3-2-1 rule builds your income systems. The 72-hour rule ensures you actually start. Let's start rewiring your brain. Month 1, install new thinking patterns. Month 3, first automated income stream. Month 6, multiple revenue sources. Right now, you have a choice. Keep running the same mental software and get the same financial results, or upgrade your programming and join the 3% who think differently. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of you won't do this because change is hard, because it's scary, because it's easier to stay where you are than to become who you could be. But for those of you who are different, for those of you who are tired of playing small, for those of you who are ready to rewrite your story, this is your moment. This is your chance. Stop chasing money. Start building systems. Automate your savings. Use calendar blocks to batch your tasks. Create routines so that meals, workouts, budgeting don't waste your willpower. That's how you save time, energy, money, and stress, and free up the bandwidth to earn. You need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. An owner stops waiting for perfect, starts moving with imperfection. Because the wealthy aren't superhumans, they just think differently. And then they act differently. And now you can do the same. The script has been rewritten. The software's been upgraded. The game has been revealed. What happens next? That's up to you. But remember, your current life is the result of your brain. If you want a different life, you need different thoughts, different actions, different choices. The power and the responsibility, it's yours. So use it wisely.